Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of Property Talk Live. I'm excited to have you guys here. So today our focus is on one of the biggest concerns for property buyers, the challenges people face when trying to buy land and property, other properties, land houses, everything. So we'll break it down clearly and offer practical and experience-based solutions. So last session that we had, we talked about these problems and their solutions. So for this week's podcast, we'll be picking, like we told you last week, we'll be picking this topic one after the other, then we'll be talking about them. So for today, what we'll be discussing are the most common challenges people face when buying the property. So let's jump right into today's question and answer session. So right here, I have with me Mr. Tochi, who is my co-host and will be giving us the answers and the solutions to this problem. Please introduce yourself.
Thank you, Mary. It's my pleasure to be here once again with my host and, of course, co-hosting Mary, and of course our crew behind the camera. I want to thank all our audience around the world, and of course, Lagos. Thank you guys for always supporting this TV Studio podcast. We are very delighted today with our important topic that my hosts will be sharing, and I will be doing justice to those burning some of the problems that buyers and investors, real estate investors all over the world. And please stay tuned, do not go away because we've got a lot of things for you. And my name is once again Mr. Chinwale. Thank you.
Okay, sir. Last week we talked about, we mentioned this topic as one of the questions that we had from our viewers as one of the challenges that's being faced when people are trying to acquire or buy land, buildings, and other properties. So, which is why we brought this particular question here today as a topic so we can discuss about it and then you can give us more insight on it. So, in particular, what are those most common challenges that people face when they're buying a property? We know there are many, but we just would like you to give us like some problem that the most face problem that the most face challenges that people have when they're buying properties and then the solutions to them.
All right, thank you so much. So one of the most challenging problem, of course, uh, buyers, investors, of course, those who dreamers. One is how to verify the genuinity of the land, what they call verification issues. Okay, so many properties lack proper documentation or have conflicting ownership. You know, the ownership is not the husband and wife. Probably is being sold to another person, and then along the line, the documentation is or was not clearly spelled out, or probably they do not what we do to regularize those documents. So what I mean is that if I am the first buyer of property, so I have the property on my name, or you have the property on your name, and then along the line, as the property appreciates or something come up, you decide to sell it off. So you have your name. So the new buyer comes in, make the payments and all that. There's supposed to be transfer of ownership. But most times, some property owners or landowners, house owners, do not update those documentation. So another buyer comes in, maybe the second person now sell it to another person, still bearing the initial uh, owner of that property's name, meanwhile it has been sold. So those are the things that actually, or most times, happens. And because of our uh, serving with our customers, our clients all over the world, we've come across those issues. And of course, buyers rely on hearsay instead of conducting proper due diligence. Most times, buyers especially those investors who are watching us today, we, like my host Mary said at the beginning of the introduction of this podcast, you see buyers making a quick decision instead of taking time to do due diligence. Those things might, because on the course of doing your due diligence, you'll be able to see some errors and then ask some hard questions. So if you do not get proper answer, my advice to you is you tarry, don't rush to pay, because you are investing your money that you have saved over time. And these are hard capital that need to be guided so that it will give you return on investment. Because the essence of investing in real estate is for you to have high return on investments, ROI. So if those things is not protected, if your fund or your capital is not protected, do not proceed until you have proper documentation. So always first verify the government land through land agencies. Verify all documentation through the government agencies. For example, in Lagos State, you have the land registers, the registries. They are located at Alausa. You can go there to verify. Of course, you can do the same thing through the surveyors. The surveyors can also help, and also the trusted legal professionals. Last, we made mention of that last week, where we said, even though there are a lot of lawyers everywhere, but you need to deal with property lawyers. Those are knowledgeable and who knows what they are majorly. So they'll be able to guide you to avoid making serious mistakes that will end of the day, if care is not taken, end up in litigation or end up losing the property totally if care is not taken. So, of course, you can also work with real estate companies like TD Home, which the company will own in-house. Of course, other trusted real estate companies around the locality or the location where you want to buy the property. So it's always advisable when you're buying or investing, whether in Nigeria, in Lagos, or all over the world. Due diligence, due diligence all the time. Thank you.
Yeah, so another problem that most people face is the issue of fake agents and fake middlemen. Like how do people like how do they identify the real agents and the real middlemen in order not to fall victim into this kind of issue?
Yes, the best way to do that is track records. Is you read showing you the proof of what they have done before. If you approach a real estate broker or a real estate agent or even a real estate company, so you need to find out, to read about them, profile them. So by profiling them, you'll be able to know whether they are genuine from the feedback from the previous clients they have served. So reputable developers or reputable agencies are all over the place. But to identify them, you need to do your due diligence. Find out from the track record. Some of them have websites. Some of them have social media platforms or accounts where you can go to see, read the feedback, the reviews from their previous clients' feedbacks. Those feedback help you to be able to make decisions if you have not done business with those agencies, companies, brokers. So it's very important when you're dealing with the developers around the place. So you need to verify properties they have built over time, over the years, how long they've been in the business, those they have served. They can point it out, properties, locations, so you do your verification. By so doing, you'll be able to know whether that person is genuine or not. So it's very, very important, like we said, the keyword is due diligence. Take your time, do your verifications. Sometimes if you're around the place, visit. But if you are in diaspora, you can send
Send like a
a
representation.
representative. That's why it is always good to do with reputable either individual companies or brokers or agents. But at the same time, no sentiments. The right thing must be done to protect their funds.
Okay, so thank you very much, sir. Another problem that we usually have, sorry, most people that are trying to acquire assets, usually, especially first-time buyers,
Yes.
is developer delay. So many buyers complain that developer promise delivery dates and then they don't meet up with that date they are given. Like how is there a particular solution for this and how do people escape this kind of situation?
Very important. These questions, developers delays, of course, even myself talking to you at one point in time, I've had partners who are developers, whether in Abuja, Lagos, Port Harcourt, in UK, US, Canada, we have partners that are developers, seasoned developers. And of course, you have the new upcoming developers. So the best thing as a buyer or investor, whether you're doing it for the first time or you have been investing in real estate or real estate enthusiasts around the world, is to read the contracts or offer. Sometimes we call it offer or the brochure containing the information regarding that land or that apartment, whether be it luxury apartment, block of flats. So you read the, the brochure. The brochure will contain the detail. And of course, sometimes they will share the contract. The contract will also contain the details. So in that way, you'll be able to read, you'll understand the timeline, understand the duration, understand the payment terms. These are very important because sometimes we're in a hurry to just make the payment. No, though along the line we also have that questions addressed. So check the book, read very well, take your time to study it. Sometimes you can take it if it's something that has a brochure, they can share it electronically, or if it's something that has a copy, take it to home. Decisions are not made just by first meet. It takes time. So you build, sleep over it, discuss it with, if you are married couple, discuss it with our wife, husband. So you could be able to have an input. And of course, get your lawyer to read through the letters or the documents. These are legal documents that once you sign it, you are legally bind to that document. So you don't want to make mistake by rushing to sign, and at the end of the day, you discover
And
some
there are issues.
there are issues. So that's a very, very important question to avoid um, issues as you grow your real estate investments.
Thank you very much, sir.
Right.
One more problem that I would like you to explain to us, and then if they give us a solution, more like what people can do to not fall victim or not get yourself into such situation is unclear or fraudulent titles. Titles like excision, C of O, government consents, these titles can be misinterpreted. So how do you think people should go about it?
Right, very important because that's where the fraudulent titles and unclear information concerning the real owner of every land, every house, every piece of property that you can talk about anywhere to be able to verify, have clarity on those documents. And then, of course, to review all of them is to get a lawyer, a property lawyer, a very experienced property lawyer. And most people will think those things are very expensive. They're not really expensive. To get a property lawyer, not much compared to the consequence of making mistake. So you have a property lawyer who will review every piece of document, and that lawyer will be able to point or identify problems before it happens. and then they can be able to, to identify red flag and then point it out to you. Because most of those things, if you have, for example, you have C of O, accession, um, governor's consent, and so on and so forth. Those documents, if you are buying for the first time, you might not understand them. You might not understand the legal things or legal terminologies that have been used there. But if you are a lawyer, is experienced lawyers, they know the consequences of every piece of word written under any real estate contracts, real estate documents or title. So they'll be able to give you, for example, if there is a court case could be as voluminous as possible. Those documents are very huge. If you are a normal investor, you do not have that time to read or digest and understand them. So you might not be able to make right decision. But a lawyer will take time to read those court judgments, some land that has court judgments, or some that has um, known government accusation. Okay, so those things are written there. But for you as a lay person or first time investors looking at it, you might not understand what they mean by government acquisition, meaning that government have interest in that land or that property. Sometimes some of those litigation can take years, especially Nigeria and some other countries that has legal, uh, complex legal procedures and very bureaucratic legal issues that takes years for you to get justice or for even to a judgment to be um, passed on a particular case. So sometimes that land or that property or that apartment might be going through litigation. Meanwhile, the owners or the developer will go ahead to put it into the market without revealing those things. I've seen people fall victim into that. The land or the property is under litigation, meanwhile it's in the market for sale. So you ignorantly you go and buy, and when you buy that, you are in for a real big problem because if it didn't go your way, you may end up losing the whole investment,
Even without getting the property.
even without getting the property. So that's why what we're talking about today is very important because a lot of our diaspora brothers and friends and relatives and partners, associates, they fall into this. Land, house, any piece of property, you must not do it on your own. Get a very reputable brokers or companies who is their job to uncover those issues. Then those issues can be mitigated. So they can do their job and be able to advise you so that you don't make mistake while buying or investing in real estate.
Investor.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Okay, so many buyers are usually surprised by fees like survey, documentation, legal fees, and infrastructure charges. And these sometimes these costs are not even something they are aware of. Like most people just post them, list the property on the market, and then they don't include these fees. It's when they are ready and then they show interest, they be like going for inspection, they are about to pay money, they're about to like pay for the property. Then they bring up these fees, which they are not even aware of. Some people even go as far as uh, not inform their clients about inspection fee or something like that. They charge it before even seeing the property. Like, what's your own view on this issue?
Right. To mitigate the issue of um, buying or charges that are not disclosed at the beginning of the negotiation as pre-stage, and some agents or some real estate companies does that by not what we call full disclosure of the documents pertaining that particular transaction. So the best way to do that is to have written down detail, written down information regarding any kind of property that you want to buy. That will be able to highlight what are the charges, the lawyer legal fee, the agreement fee,
Survey fee.
and the survey fee. Then, of course, Sometimes even sometimes to find information from the government, land registry, there are charges. Okay, and that's why most times when the lawyers are asking for fee, they're not just asking for fee for their own professional fee, they're also asking for fee as to the one that is due for government, to the government, land registry. So some properties, if you go, for example, to find out whether the land is the survey is registered, or whether the deed is registered, or probably a CFO to verify whether it is on the legal land with the legal title, and if there is any incumbrance, any difficulty, any challenge, any issues around that property, the government charge for it. So the full disclosure from the beginning of that transaction is very important. That's what we call transparency. So in every business, not just in real estate, there should be transparency. Transparency guide you to know how much it's going to cost you. Because sometimes the land can be put at 50 million or 10 million, probably for 5 million for off-plan projects, land banking, you know, you buy it, it appreciate over time in a real estate, that all over the places. Okay, so those there are some legal charges that are not disclosed. There are some agency fees or the middlemen, middle people that sometimes they do not disclose it to you, or sometimes they have the reasons for doing that. So at the after you have might have made payment for the land or for the um, apartment or block of flats, you discover that there are some other charges which you were not told at the initial stage. So in order to avoid that, ask for detail, breakdown, ask for breakdown. So and then of course ask questions if there are other charges, so that they can be able to inform you from the beginning of that transaction or transaction to guide you so you don't get other additional charges that you were not prepared.
Thank you very much.
All right.
So yeah, I have like a follow-up question.
Okay.
So why do buyers still fall into these challenges even with the available information we have out now?
Yes, it's not really that they're doing it intentional. It has to do with, you know, one thing in life. I'm being real and talking about personal experience. When you have money, when you lay or you've been saving for a particular project, and then now you see you might have been doing some research or doing some, you know, getting information around properties around their budget. Okay. So when you see one that is very good, and most times you should be curious about the property that's supposed to be for 10 million and somebody's giving you 10 million, meaning there's something
So
wrong.
good to be
It's
so.
too, yeah, it's too good to be true. So now you that are buyer, you see such opportunity, you know, and human being, we are emotional people. So not everybody has the second thought on every issue. Some people make decision very erratic. They just make decision without having a second thought. So that kind of people most times fall into this issue that we're talking about here. So if, for example, you see 5 million, the first question you ask yourself, how is it that on the same location others are going for 10 million and this one is
We're
5 million?
getting it.
I mean, it should rise or raise their curiosity to find out why is it that such price of 5 million different. So is it that the person who is selling is not the rightful owner, or the person is being fraudulent? Okay, so find out. Let ask hard questions. Can you have the title of this property? Can you have, if it is in the an estate, can you have the drawing plan or the building plan? Can you have the approval plan? So that approval plan will be able to have a historical name from the deeds to the survey plan, and of course to the drawing plan. The names must be uniform. So if there is any discrepancies along that line, it raises a red flag. So you need to find out why those discrepancies. And then, of course, you go further by contacting the land registry or land registry to find out those documents. Are they registered with the government? Is government aware of this property? Once you do all those due diligence, you can go ahead and seal the transaction. But do not be in a hurry to be able to, to get a property locked in. Sometimes agents come in with the sales is closing next month. Or probably this is the last one left. Those sales slogan or marketing strategy.
You're trying to push customers to
Exactly, make decision. Yeah, exactly. And of course, some people might not make decision unless you trigger something. We call it trigger. So, but in the trigger, if you're an experienced person or somebody who is listening to this podcast, you'll be guided that they're all sales strategies, which means you still need to calm down, do your due diligence. So it doesn't foreclose from not going ahead to verify and find out that the land is legal and is open for sale and the seller authorized the transaction. Because most of them are not, probably they invested in the property, they have a place where they live. So they're not even aware that somebody is encroaching or putting those properties for sale.
Yes.
And sometimes it happens with a family, a more polygamous family. So maybe the head of the family want to sell maybe the younger ones to
I'm not
not
ready to sell.
already. Probably maybe the husband is late or the wife is late. The other co-wives, they are not consented to the transaction. So the other one will go ahead without the consent of the whole family approving that. So, for example, if you're buying a land and the owners are deceased, so what you need to ask is the head of the family, like we made mention last time, and then the head of the family, and where they passed the resolution, who sold the land or a property, not the land, it was a house, a commercial land, house, pardon me. So it's a company owned by a corporate entity. So in that case, you need to, one, there must have been a meeting where the board of directors approved the said property to go for sale. So if you are buying a land that belongs to a company or family, you need to get a resolution or a meeting held by that particular family, and they passed resolution to proceed and sell the land for the common good of the family or company. So I've dealt some cases like that. So when you have such issue, you go and buy it from Mr. A, and Mr. B to C to D did not agree for the property or the land or the house to go for sale. So you are in for trouble because that person will take you to court. If they see you going into that land, you are an interloper, you are a stranger, completely encroaching in the land because they have not authorized the sale.
Yeah, you might eventually end up spending more than the amount you actually used to acquire the property trying to
Ex-
save yourself.
Exactly. If you're a family or probably company that want to pity you, if not, some will take it to court, and court will might somehow, because court does not look at your ignorance, they look at the facts, they look at what you're supposed to do that you have not done. So if your family says, like for example, there are four, and three are not in agreement for that land, only one person, majority. So you are in for trouble. The lawyer or the judge might probably nullify that transaction, um, and then maybe probably give you, if you are lucky, he will give you room to go for refund. But some will say they're not selling that land, so you made a mistake, and they're going to lose their money. Okay, so people have lost a lot of money in this issue that we're talking about here. Some of you are watching us. This is a very important uh, podcast that we are discussing today. Please pay attention and do not forget to share to your loved ones, your friends, your business partners that are watching us, because what we are discussing today is very, very important. That will save you and save your fortune.
Yes, and if you have any questions as well, you can just drop them in the comment section and then our live section will feature your questions amongst other questions as well.
Absolutely.
So one last question before we go, sir.
Yes.
Was although I've asked this question in our last section, but I'm still going to ask again,
Right.
because of the fact of that this is like the main topic we're having for
Sure.
today's discussion. So
Sure.
what's the most important step a buyer should take before paying for any property at all?
Yes. Thank you. These are great questions. Very clean, factual, step by step guide that you could take as a property buyer is always do land title search and the land registry or land registry. In Lagos State, they have what they call LMI S. It's also there. You can always find information relating to land. Most of the governments or states in the federation have digitalized their property land information. So you can actually search some in Abuja, Port Harcourt, that is River State, Lagos, some places in Delta, Enugu, and the most of other states, they have digitalized their property documents. So for you engage. The second one is engage a qualified conveyancing lawyer. So lawyers before paying do hire professionals, hire reputable.
Yeah, like your legal representative.
Exactly. Whether you are in Nigeria or in your overseas, get the service of a broker, company, real estate companies,
Or legal person.
or legal person to help you. And then, of course, number three on that step is verify the title type. Is it C of O? Is it governor's consent? Is it deeds of assignments? And of course, it's fair plan. Do all of those uh, verifications to be able to be guided. And then, of course, never pay large sums of money in cash. Insist on paying through their bank accounts. Because if we don't pray or we don't anticipate anything, but as long as this life, everything in life is risk.
Yes.
The food, the air you breathe, even on the road, in your house, everything is risk. So make sure you pay through their bank accounts.
That way it's traceable.
Traceable. Very good word there. Traceable. And then you can be able to present it should anything come in future. Because you can't do it in the law court. They work with evidence.
Yes.
So if you don't have evidence,
It's not based on your conscience or
no,
what you feel.
no, not at all.
It's on evidence.
It's an evidence. So you must have your documents and the title to be able to have in case of anything. Number five, just these are tips that will help you. Tips that will guide you. You know, just to add to those who are listening or watching us live, anywhere you are. So for off-plan projects or lands or whatever, building luxury apartments, and all, so on and so forth. So insist on a watertight contract, and then delivery date must be specified or specified in that in those documents. And then of course penalty clauses. These things are very important. So for some of you are watching us, so every legal document, every piece of title document has clauses. So those clauses embed a lot of information. So pay attention to reading them. Some will write it as terms and conditions. Some will write as terms of contract, depending on the language or the wording. So you pay attention to these penalty clauses. For example, if you fail to pay, if it's a monthly subscription, what is the penalty? Are you going to be charged some certain percentage for failing not to keep with the monthly repayment plan? And then if it is something of 6 months, some will say quarterly, some will say they give you pay as you like, or within 1 year. So all those clauses and wording should be read. And of course, third party safeguards. Third party in case of any litigation, in case of any problems that arise. So the third party will be, or what we call escrow, will be able to guide you. So in this, it helps to checkmate, it helps because by mainly following up with this step by step, you'll be able to discover red flags that will help you. Right. So in all these things we're seeing, we are talking about something that will help you because we want to make sure that your property is safe, and of course ask the necessary questions about the receipt, sales receipt, deed of assignment, survey plan, and any development plan permits from the, if you're buying from the developers, and of course, corporate documents of that company. Because if you are a developer, if you are a company, you must have your company's profile. People can be able to verify, read about their company, and then do their information. So those are the things, basic things that I think. Then, of course, we'll be having more of them
as time goes
as
on.
time goes
So
on.
basically, these are like the steps that buyers should take. Their we call them due diligence that they should do
Yes,
before they buy the property.
in property.
Mm.
Yes,
Thank
yes.
you very much, guys, for joining today's segment of Property Talk Live. Um, Join us next Thursday at 1:30 p.m. for another insightful topic. So you can drop your questions in the comments and we may feature them in our upcoming episode. Thank you very much. Bye.